Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Welcome to this morning's Bhagavatam class, and it will be from Canto 1, Chapter 17, Text 35. You have to excuse me for a second. I just simply forgot to turn the recorder on. To do that really, really quickly. Okay. So, with Canto 1, Chapter 17, Text 35 and Text 36. And so without further ado, I'll start the class. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Gopi Janavallabha Girivaradhari Gopi Janavallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Vrajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Vrajajana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Girivadadhari Yashodanandana Vrajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Vrajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Hari Krishna Hari Krishna 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 Hari 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 Rama Hari Rama 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 Hari Hari Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Jaya Nitai Gora Chandra Nitai Gora Chandra Gora Hari Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Sila Prabhupada Gurudev 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 Jaya Jaya Gurudev Nitai Gora Haribo 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 Nitai Gora Haribo Nitai Gora Haribo 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 Nitai Gora Haribo Jayam Vishnu Param Hamsa Privachakacharya Stotara Satyasishri Maharaj Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Shri Prabhupada Ki Jai Jayam Vishnu Param Hamsa Privachakacharya Stotara Satyasishri Maharaj Divine Grace Shri Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai Anand Koti Vaishnav Ki Jai Namacharya Shri Haridas Thakur Ki Jai ISKCON Founder Acharya Shri Prabhupada Ki Jai Prem से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवाचार्य गौर भक्तवृंद की जय श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गोप गोपीनाथ श्याम कुंज राधा कुंज गिरि गोवर्धन की जय वृंदावन धाम की जय मथुरा धाम की जय मायापुर धाम की जय जगन्नाथपुरी धाम की जय जगन्नाथ स्वामी की जय गंगा माई की जय जमुना माई की जय तुलसी देवी की जय भक्ति देवी की जय हरे कृष्ण महामंत्र की जय सामवेद भक्त की जय निताय गौर प्रेमानंद हरि हरि बोल All glories to the assembled devotees. Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees. Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees. Hare Krishna. All glories to the lotus feet of Sri Sri Guru and Gauranga. Shri Prabhupada. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale. Srimati Bhakti Swami Nityanamini Namaste Krishna Padaya Prabhupada Statman. Shri Gaura Karuna Shakti Bhakti Vedanta. Narayana Namaskritya Narunchevam Narotamam Devim Saraswati Vyasam Tato Jayam Vidirayat Nashta Prayeswa Bhadresu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavata Uttamastoke Bhakti Bhavati Naistiki Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Hare Krishna. So we'll begin with Canto 1, Chapter 17, Text 35. Hare Krishna. So I'll chant 3 times, and after that, anyone who wants to chant can do so. Sutta Vacha Pariksit Evam Adishta Sakali Jatave Patu Tam Udyatassim Adhidam Dandapanim Ivodyatam Sutta Vacha Pariksit Evam Adishta Sakali Jatave Patu Tam Udyatassim Ahedam Dandapanim Ivodyatam Sutta Vacha Pariksit Evam Adishta Sakali Jatave Patu Tam Udyatassim Ahedam Dandapanim Ivodyatam. Hare Krishna. Jai. Please stand. Unmute yourself. Try to chant.
Sutta Vacha Parikshitevamatishtah Sakalirchat Vipatuhu Tamutyatasi Mahetam Tandapanimyotyatam.
Jai. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Sutta Vacha Parikshitveam Adishtaha Sakalirjatve Putuh Tam Udyasimahedam Dandapanim Vibodhyatam.
Jai. Hare Krishna. Anyone else? All right. So we do word for word. Sutta Vacha, Sri Sutta Goswami said, Parikshita, by Maharaj Pariksit, Evam, thus, Adishta, being ordered, Sa, he, Kali, the personality of Kali, Jata, there was, Vepatu, trembling, Tam, him, Udyata, raised, Asim, sword, Aha, said, Idam, thus, Dandapanim, Yamaraj, personality of death, Eva, like, Udyatam, almost ready. Translation by His Divine Grace, Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada. Sri Sutta Goswami said, the personality of Kali, thus being ordered by Maharaj Pariksit, began to tremble in fear. Seeing the king before him like Yamaraj ready to kill him, Kali spoke to the king as follows. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. The king was ready to kill the personality of Kali at once, as soon as he disobeyed his order. Otherwise, the king had no objection to allowing him to prolong his life. The personality of Kali also, after attempting to get rid of the punishment in various ways, decided that he must surrender unto him. And thus he began to tremble in fear of his life. The king or the executive head must be so strong as to stand before the personality of Kali like personality of death, Jamaraj. The king's order must be obeyed, otherwise the culprit's life is at risk. That is the way to rule the personality of Kali, who create disturbance in the normal life of the state citizens. Text 36. Kali uvacha yata kwa vata vyatsyami sarvapo matavagyaya lakshaye tata tatrapi tam atishu sarasanam. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. Oh, your majesty, I may live anywhere and everywhere under your order. Oh, your majesty, though I may live anywhere and everywhere under your order, I shall but see you with bow and arrows wherever I look. Report by Srila Prabhupada. The personality of Kali could see that Maharaj Pariksit was the emperor of all lands all over the world. And thus anywhere he might live, he will have to meet with the same mood of the king. Personality of Kali was meant for mischief, and Maharaj Pariksit was meant for subduing all kinds of mischief mongers, especially the personality of Kali. It was better, therefore, for the personality of Kali to have been killed by the king then and there, instead of being killed elsewhere. He was, after all, a surrendered soul before the king, and it was for the king to do what was required. Oma Gyanati Vedandasya Gyana Gyanashalakaya Chakshu Militam Jena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manovistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Padakamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavam Cha Shri Rupa Sagajatam Sahagana Ragunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadhuitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Pada Sahagana Lalita Sri Vishakam Vitamscha. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kantana Mustate Tapta Kanchana Gorangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishabhanusate Devi Panamami Hari Priya Vanchaka Padru Vescha Kripa Sunive Eva Chapatitanam Pavanevi Vaishnavi Vyu Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sidvaita Gadadhar Sivasani Gaur Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namini Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravan Pacharini Nirvishesha Sunyavari Paschatiyadi Shitarini Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namni Gauratishe Namaha Ananda Lilamaya Vigrahaya Himavi Devachati Shindaraya Tasmi Mahaprema Raspadaya Chaitanya Chandaya Namo Namaste Chaitanya Chandaya Namo Namaste Chaitanya Chandaya Namo Namaste, Chaitanya Chandaya Namo Namaste. Hare Krishna. So, in text 35, Sri Srila Goswami said, the personality of Kali, thus being ordered by Maharaj Pariksit, began to tremble in fear. Seeing the king before him like Jamaraj, ready to kill him, Kali spoke to the king as follows. And in text 36, O your majesty, though I may live anywhere and everywhere under your order, I shall but see you with bow and arrows wherever I look. So Sita Goswami is describing to the sages of Naimisharanya what Sukadeva Goswami had said in the encounter between Kali, personality of Kali, and Maharaj Pariksit, who was the king, the emperor at the time. So Kali had been ordered by Maharaj Pariksit, said, you cannot stay in an area where those who are pious, those who are fearing the Lord, serving the Lord, doing pujas, all of that, devotionally serving the Supreme Personality of Godhead and good people in general you can't stay there. And the personality of Kali began to tremble because the king was before him like a judge, Jamraj, ready to kill him. So then he had to speak a little bit to try to save his life. And that's when he said, which is in the next text, "Oh, Your Majesty, I may live anywhere and anywhere under your order, but I still will see you with bows and arrows wherever I look." Why? Kali was about mischief. Kali was about wrongdoing. And Maharaj Pariksit, part of his rule and responsibility was to get rid of those who cause problems. And Kali was the personality of problem causing. And Maharaj Pariksit was a personality of problem solving. So of course, these are opposites. And the king had the right to get rid of those who cause mischief. I wish it was like that in the governments around the world now. Kali Yuga has proceeded so much to the point where the mischief mongers are not only causing mischief, but they're the ones running things too. In many countries, that is the case. An overwhelming number of countries in this world is the case. And because they are the way they are the way they are in terms of mischief causing and envy. So there's so much now of problems everywhere. And the Devatas tried to warn us, the demigods, by making the weather severe and having us turn our attention to Krishna. But even that's not working. People don't care about how irreligious things have become. And many people have accepted that as a way of life. But that is not the way in which peace can come. Krishna has said that when we understand that Bhoktaram Yagya Tapasam, that he is the benefactor of all sacrifices and penances, Sarvaloka Maheswaram, that he is the owner of all there is, all of the planets. Suhridam Sarva Bhutanam, and he is the best, the well-wisher of every living entity, the well-wisher. If we understand that, then peace will come. So that we should turn our attention to worshiping the Supreme Personality of Godhead like Maharaj Pariksit and his predecessors, the Pandavas, were doing. And we have to understand that he is a supreme controller and that he is a well-wisher. That brings peace. Anything outside of that, then that's inviting the personality of Kali to do his thing, as it said here in America. So the personality of Kali began to tremble because Maharaj Pariksit was in front of him ready to kill him. When the right thing is enforced, the wrong thing can never, ever predominate. When the right thing is there, then the wrong thing can never predominate. And so we now as devotees, we are in a situation that we can change the atmosphere of this particular planet through the Sankirtan, chanting the holy name of the Lord, And it's wonderful to see the Prabhupada has given us opportunity to go to the streets and chant the holy name. So we don't sit in our churches. You don't see that happening in other churches. They will be in one place, in one building, but we go all over the streets of the world to propagate the holy name, just like Lord Chaitanya did in Navadvip. He was just going all over. And later on, all over India, he was also chanting the holy name of the Lord so people would hear the holy name and get purified. And when they join the Sankirtan, they get purified even more and become devotees. So that is our task. And that way, the influence of Kali will be pushed back. Because right now, the Kali's agents are among the leadership, the political leadership in many, many, many countries. So we should take over the Sanatan Dharma, the eternal religion, surrender to the Supreme Personality of Godhead and chanting his holy name because the Lord has come in this Kali Yuga in his holy name. In that way, we will in fact make Kali begin to tremble just like he was doing in front of Maharaj Pariksit in our own way. The holy name of the Lord banishes all problems. The holy name of the Lord is that potent because that's the Lord himself. Krishna is absolute. So the holy name is Krishna. And in this particular age, he has come in his holy name. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. So as in text 36, Kali is saying, I may live anywhere and everywhere on the order, but I'll see you with bow and arrows. We have been told by Srila Prabhupada, it was predicted in his own life that he will spread the holy name of the Lord in every town and village. We are assistants of Srila Prabhupada. Our spiritual masters are like that too, assistants of Srila Prabhupada. So we are to project the holy name of the Lord everywhere. And that is something that has to continue in every situation, in every temple, in every Namahata. If you have not gone around the city to chant the holy name, that is one thing you have to do. And the other thing also is to distribute the books of Srila Prabhupada everywhere. Everywhere. It's going on. I know it is going on. But what we're talking about is that the intensity of that should be increased. The intensity of that should be increased everywhere. So wherever you're connected with, all around the world, wherever you travel to, please seek the place where arrangements are being made from the Sankirtan Yagya and join it and chant as loud as possible and dance in the streets so that people will see that we are connected with something that's very, 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 very high. I'll tell you one story about my spiritual master, Bhakti Maharaj. He was not a devotee at that time. He was in Massachusetts, in Cambridge. And in Cambridge, there is a area where Harvard University is called Harvard Square. And this was winter, and winter in Boston is very severe. The temperature is very low, and it's very windy also. So you had a wind chill factor, which makes it even more unbearable. Many people walk, if they walk outside, they are just walking as quickly as possible, put their heads down and trying to deal with the cold, and they will get to the nearest building through the door as quickly as they can to get away from the cold weather. So in this place, which is a busy marketing area, a lot of businesses there, and part of Harvard University, Bhakti Maharaj saw this group of men and women. And they looked like they were wearing what he called bed sheets. We know now it's this kurta and charis. And he described something like war paint in their faces, which is actually tilak. At the time, he didn't know them. But what surprised him was that when everybody was trying to get away from being outside, walking and then getting into a room as quickly as possible, They were outside and had no indication that they were going to get into any building to kind of escape the cold. And they were singing and they were dancing. That wasn't Sankirtan. Hmm? The Nam Sankirtan. And Bhakti Jeremiah saw and said, these people, he thought about this, these people are either on drugs or they have the highest, whatever it is, that's making them actually behave like this. So that was the first encounter with the devotees by him. Later on, when he became a member and joined in New York, then he understood what Sankirtan was about. But they were out there in the cold, the devotees. They did not let the weather affect them in chanting the holy name of God. It should be that intense with us, so that the personality of Kali, the influence of Kali, will in fact be controlled now and be lowered, because that is needed badly. Maharaj Pariksit, a very able, pious, and strict king. We also, in our lives, are involved in some sort of leadership. Parents are leaders of their children. Teachers are leaders of their students. Gurus are leaders of their disciples. And so, in one way or the other, at some point in our lives, there's leadership responsibilities that come. So in Bhagavad Gita, chapter 3, coming text 21, Yat Yat Acharati Stretas Tat Tat Evetaro Jana Sayat Pramanam Kurute Lokastat Anuvartate. Translation is, whatever action a great man performs, common men follow. And whatever standards he sets, by exemplary acts, all the world pursues. So we may not consider ourselves as great men, quote unquote, but we have some leadership. And whatever we're leading, who is watching, whoever it is that's watching us, whether our children or whether different followers in different situations, whatever actions that we do, people will watch and they'll follow. So we have to be careful and we have to understand what leadership is. But anyway, before we get to that, there's some notes on leadership that I've gathered that we'll spend the rest of the time talking about. But in the purport to this, Srila Prabhupada says, people in general always require a leader who can teach the public by practical behavior. In today's time, many people, even though they don't talk about it very much, they are dissatisfied with their leader. There's so many reasons why they're dissatisfied with the leader. Because the leader is not pious, the leader is not directed by sound advice from brahmanas. And so it's come to the point where even church and state, there's a law that separates church and state. So which leader now is going to listen to those who may have at least mode of goodness ideas to share with the king or with the president, whatever the prime minister, whatever title they use for the leader of a country. So if a leader is leading has bad habits, that will definitely affect the public opinion of that particular leader. So Lord Chaitanya said that a teacher should behave properly before he begins teaching. Then that kind of teacher is called, especially in spiritual circles, an acharya, the ideal teacher. They teach, they also live according to the teachings of the scripture. Religion is the codes set up by the Lord. They are perfect. Sanatana Dharma, the Vedas, Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, perfect literature. And the person that would teach it should also follow the principles, the do's and don'ts. So the teacher cannot manufacture the rules against the principles of revealed scriptures. It's not do as I say and not as I do. You have to do according to what you say also. So the leader's teaching should be based on the principles of the standard Shastras. So for what we heard, we should take notes, mental note or written notes, and try to live according to that. Then when we are looked on, sometimes even we don't consider ourselves having a leadership position, but having been around for a period of time, there are some people who are new who will come, who will look up to that particular person. In any society, there are three things. What is the goal of that society? Who are the personalities who are living according to that goal? And from that goal, what is the result? What have they become? So every society is judged by three things: its goals, its practitioners, and the results of the practitioners living according to the goals. So ISKCON is to spread Krishna consciousness the whole world over. It's the movement of Lord Chaitanya, the extension of what he did when he was here 500 years ago. And the devotees who are living according to the rules, the do's and don'ts, they have to stay strict with the do's and don'ts. Then from that, we'll see real devotees who are happy internally and are wonderfully serving in love the Supreme Personality of Godhead and his eternal consort, Radha. This is what's meant for us. This is also the way in which we should project Krishna consciousness, by people coming in and we being the leaders, or at least the ones that direct things here and there, or serve or explain things. We should be in the mood of being very, very welcoming and very much in the service mood for everybody that comes. We have to also understand we don't know the person, a new person. We may call him a new person. When Nimai was born also on the Nimai neem tree, in Navadvip, Mayapur area. He was also not known, but that was the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And the point we're making is, when a person that's new comes, we should never think that, oh, he's just coming in the beginning. We don't know the previous lives and what he had picked up. People who come to Krishna consciousness have lived previous lives where they were very much connected with spirituality. And this is the place where, when they come, then they get an opportunity to go back to Godhead after leaving this body. So it is a very, 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 very important organization. So there are some things in the codes, Manu Samhita being one of them, about how a leader, since we're talking about should be an ideal leader, how a leader should comport themselves. There's a number of things. A leader should be able to give protection to his constituents. If a leader can't do that, then he's literally a walking dead leader. He may seem to have life in him, but as far as his responsibilities, he's dead. A large percentage of leadership lies in providing protection. Now, in order to be an effective leader, the Manu Samhita also explains that the greatest conquest that a leader can make is conquering his or her own senses. Sense control is very important. Why? Because whatever area a leader is weak at is the area that he will sell out his people. Whatever area that the leader is weak, if someone has a weakness for money and becomes a leader, that will be the area or the arena of failure. Sometimes leaders fall prey to illicit activity. Some of the things that has happened with some presidents, it's appalling practically. And I even know of situations where some of the recent presidents did things that even some of their own Secret Service agents that are protecting them got upset with them because of what they did. And although I know the story in detail, I even shudder to even talk about it. But leaders have to have better sense than behave stupidly sometimes. At least they could use strong words without actually talking about the actual incident. People are watching leaders, everything they do. So if there's a weakness, you have to be able to control your senses. And this is all, this situation I'm talking about, even though I would not relate to the incident, it's from the leader not being able to control the senses. So controlling the senses is very, very important. And that's why we have the 4 regulated principles, to learn to control the senses. So when the leader learns to control the senses, they will gain the strength to overcome their weakness. And then they won't be a disappointment or an embarrassment to themselves or to their citizens. It is in fact so important that nobody can be a strong leader without regulating the senses. So as we speak, if there's an issue with regulating the senses for any one of us, we have to humbly bow before Guru, bow before Lord Uranga. And if it's something that is an issue that we can't seem to control well, that is, it seems that there's an addiction that we want to stop, but we cannot stop it ourselves. We need help then. And prayer is one of the greatest ways in which, when somebody wants to serve as a better devotee and grow, and they are being hampered by any of the principles, that they should resort to pray seriously to the Lord. And with that, the Lord will in fact come with some solution, give some solution. The details of it, you'll have to find out, but you will see that it's connected to controlling that particular issue. And after a while, that issue will in fact be controlled if we're genuine, sincere with our request. So no one leader can be strong without regulating the senses. So great acharyas, spiritual leaders, they want to help people out of confusion. They also want to create and reestablish a class of higher knowledge. Srila Prabhupada did that. Devotees were being taught to be brahmanas. Who are brahmanas? Well, that's explained in chapter 18, text 42 of Bhagavad Gita. Samodamas tapaso cham, shanti ajavam evacham. Jnanam vijnanam astikyam, brahmakama svabhavajam. The translation is peacefulness, self-control, austerity, purity, tolerance, knowledge, honesty, wisdom, and religiousness. Those are the natural qualities by which the brahmanas work. And devotees are supposed to live under these types of qualities. Peaceful, self-control, controlling the senses, that is, austerity, and one of our austerities is obeying the regulated principles and also getting up in the Brahma Muhurta time to chant our rounds. Purity that comes from taking everything that we learn seriously. Tolerance. Things happen in this particular world. The things come and go. The stress comes. We have to tolerate. Honesty. Speak truth in all situations, but speak it in a palatable way. Knowledge, hear and acquire more knowledge from the Shastra as a regular thing to do. Wisdom, and that would come from understanding the Shastra. So the natural qualities, those are things that we have to develop. So, so in applying leadership principles, or choosing the principles to follow in our lives. We should accept those that are favorable to our service to God, and anything that is unfavorable, we should reject it. We should use our own intelligence like that. So the king should be straightforward, or a leader should be straightforward in words and also in the conduct. You just don't say, oh, do as I do and do as I say, but not what I do, because we have a weakness. No, people are always watching what the leader does. They shouldn't have a public life which seems like, oh, they're so nice and so together. And then the private life, and they have all kinds of negative things going on in the private life. No, private life and public life should be the same. There shouldn't be any kind of deception of the people, giving the impression that they're so together when in fact, in the private life, it's another story. A person who is leading should be like an acharya. You lead by example. So good leadership should be balanced. The king should be careful to lead in a balanced way, meaning that when a king is too mild, then some people who feel that they're strong, they will disregard that king. People won't give enough respect to him. You should also avoid the other extreme of being too fierce, because when a king is too fierce, then people will be afraid of him. And that fear will not create a happy state of affairs for everybody. So a king should not be too mild and not be too fierce. So it's a balancing act there. Maharaj Pariksit was very, very, very kind, very soft-hearted. But when it came to when he has to deal with situations that are negative, like facing the personality of Kali, he was very, very rigid then. He wasn't going to tolerate any nonsense. So there should be compassion in the heart of a leader. That should be there. But he must guard against displaying a too forgiving kind of nature. Because if everything, oh, that's all right, we forgive you, then people will say that's weakness. The low men will not see through the compassion. They will say, oh, the king is weak. And then they begin to take advantage of him. Another thing a king should be about is the king's duty. He or she, that duty should be to the people. He should take care of them with no thoughts of pleasing himself. He should put the people first. His own wishes should be second. He should subordinate his wishes, and the desires of the people be put first. The king should also have a parental type spirit. So in that sense, the leader or the king should guard the citizens just like the mother guards a child. The mother would take risks in order to make sure the child is safe. So a leader should know his or her constituents very well, as much as like a mother knows their children. So all of these will be felt by the citizen if a leader, a good leader, displays these kind of qualities. So a leader should not be too mild, should not be too strong. Mild means they will think he's weak. Too strong, they'll be afraid of him. And the leader should be compassionate, but he should not go too overboard with compassion to have a too forgiving nature. Because then people say, oh, well, it's not going to happen. We'll be okay. Just like in the law here, some people get caught and the police go through all kinds of risks to get a criminal caught and off the streets. And then the system decides the extent of problems that caused by that person. And sometimes the person is let out then you begin to think, what was the whole point of even arresting that person? Then the criminals just say, oh, yeah, I know what jail is like. I'll get a place to sleep. I'll get food to eat. And you know, warmth if it's cold, they'll just give me heat and all of that. They'll just take care of me. And I'll go out. That's all. No punishment. So just confinement. Some people don't regard that as punishment, especially if you take care of them nicely too. They don't have to buy anything. When they're outside, they have to buy things to take care of themselves. But then when they're in jail, everything is supplied. So they go out and they cause a problem again. So we have to be in a situation where people will feel that whatever they've done, that they won't get into it anymore. There should be that type of rule. So then criminals won't feel that the system is too mild and they can do whatever they want and get away with it. So we've got a long way to go. The parental spirit should be there with the king. And Maharaj Pariksit was a great example of a very pious and strict when he had to be, that type of king. So Maharaj Pariksit was in front of Kali, and Kali got the impression that wherever he went, the Maharaj Pariksit was in control. And if he misbehaved in any kind of way, that his life would be in danger. That time will come if we chant the holy name and the Nam Sankirtan and distribution of books are done very seriously. We will in fact be able to change the way things are for the better. And the golden age that we've heard of, and many people looking forward to the golden age, will in fact be ushered by the holy name of the Lord. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Shri Prabhupada ki jai. So thank you for listening, giving the opportunity to do this service. Actually, I was filling in for Mother Anastasia, but she's on another Zoom call with Chandramali Swami, so she asked me to fill in for her. So, devotees, if you have any comments to make, some takeaways, some questions, this is the time to unmute yourself and also speak. So we will all hear what you have to say or the questions. We can discuss those too. Shri Prabhupada ki jai. So anyone with questions or takeaways that they want to contribute to this, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Wonderful class. I joined a little late. I don't have any question, but I really appreciate the points you mentioned on leadership and how we can serve in that role to preach the mission. That's so wonderful. Yeah, I really like it. Yeah, thank you so much, Prabhu.
Thank you very much. This is all Guru and Guranga's, the mercy of Guru and Guranga. Yeah, everybody in one way or the other, at some point in their life, are going to have a leadership position. We may not think that way, but as far as the responsibility and somebody is looking up to us, that we can guide, then we become a leader in that role, whether it's at home or in some other place like that. And so we have to be developing these qualities, just like, the compassion should be there. We shouldn't be too severe. We shouldn't be too mild. Play the middle, like that. And the leader should feel, the dependents should feel that their leader really cares about them. Just like a parent cares for a child. There should be that feeling there. And that way, we become ideal leaders, and many leaders like that around the world will bring the peace that we want so badly. Thank you, Prabhu. Any other comments? Hare Krishna. Any other comments or takeaways? We're getting close to the top of the hour. 9 o'clock? Okay, so I don't hear any other comments. So thank you all for coming. Thank you all for listening. And we hope that we will, in fact, take home the fact that we are either a leader now or we will be at some point. And these qualities are very important to live according to, so that we become very responsible leadership personalities in our lives. Shila Prabhupada ki jai. Gaura Premanande. Hari 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 Bo. Jai. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Thank you so
Hare
much.
Krishna.
Hare
Glory
Krishna.
to- Hare Krishna. Glory to Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Glory to Prabhupada.